Hey, seriously, are you drinking my coffee? Olive, were you drinking my coffee? Hey everybody, it's Dave and Olive here with another video. We're here to do our December book wrap-up. It's going to be a short video this time. We had a pretty abysmal month between my shoulder surgery and the holidays. We read very, very little. Couple that with the fact that I read what I think is the longest book that I've ever read in the month of December. So it's going to be pretty quick, and let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually a novelette. It was the first thing we read this month right after I had the surgery. I needed something light to do. It's a novelette, but since we don't have too much else to talk about, might as well talk about that one. This one is called For He Can Creep. This one, look, it counts. I know it's a novelette, but it still counts. So this is For He Can Creep by Siobhan Carroll. This I read because it popped up on Goodreads, because it was nominated for both the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award for Best Novelette. Now that, look, I told you already, it counts, okay? It showed up on Goodreads. That should be good enough for you. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us to count it as a book to talk about, all right? So, it showed up for those awards. I think it lost the Nebula Award to Carpe Glitter by Cat Rambo, which I also read, and that was pretty decent. And then it lost the Hugo, I think, to Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin, which that was really good. I might have those reversed, but those are the two that it lost to. It also nominated for the World Fantasy Award. Those books were, like I said, both pretty good. Emergency Skin was excellent. This one, not quite as much, in my opinion. This is actually available. You can read this for free on Tor.com. I ended up buying the ebook for like $1 just because I like to have it. But this one was it was a clever story. This was by Siobhan Carroll, who's a professor at Delaware. So this was an interesting story. It was somewhat entertaining. It's about an author that is committed to an insane asylum, and it's told from the perspective of his cat. And the author is the cat's human, and the cat defends the human from these. The human made a deal with Satan to write a poem that will bring about the end of the world, and so the cat and his cat Jeffrey and some others are protecting his human from these demons. And it was a little entertaining. There's a little more history behind it. The name For He Can Creep comes from an old poem. There was 18th century English author Christopher Smart, who was committed to an insane asylum, and he wrote a poem about his cat, I believe, named Jeffrey. And the last line of that poem was For He Can Creep. So that's the connection here. It was kind of clever. It was a little entertaining, but I didn't think it was that great. I felt like I was missing something. I don't know if I feel like there was something more to the story behind just that connection with that historical figure that maybe I'm missing. If you read this, or if you want to read it, like I said, it's relatively short. You can read it on Tor.com for free. And you have a different take, or you can fill me in on what I'm missing about it. Let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to hear it, because I just really didn't quite get it. I'd maybe give this, I was going to give it a 3. After I thought about it some more, I figured maybe it's like a 3.5, because it was a little clever, and it was a little entertaining, what she did with this story. But I don't know. I just I don't know. It really wasn't for me. But let me know if you have some other thoughts about it. Okay, the second book that we did, and this is like the third time I'm mentioning this book, is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. This book I mentioned I mentioned in a video when I did a book haul, and then I mentioned another video for the Christmas reads that I had been hoping to read before I got sidetracked with everything else. This book I realize is, I think, the longest book that I've ever read in print. I've read longer books, a few longer books in ebooks, but I believe this is the longest print book that I've ever read. This version is about 700 pages, but the mass market version is actually about 800 pages. These are just a little bit longer. So I thought this book was great. I'd give it 5 stars. Joe Hill wrote, I've mentioned before, my favorite graphic novel series of all time, Lock and Key series, which was very original and really engaging. This is the first book that I read by him, and it was really great. This follows on the main character, a couple main characters, but the main one is Vic, and we first meet her as a child, and she has this special bike that when she rides it, she is able to ride the bike into other places. And I want to be careful not to say too much about this, but that's that happens right in the beginning. And another main character in the story is this evil man, Charlie Manx, who's this very old individual who has his own vehicle, which is a 1939 Rolls-Royce called Wraith. And he rides that into his own special place called Christmas Land, where he takes children that he's abducted over the years. And he has unsavory individuals that help him with this. There are different individuals that have certain items that enable them to go into these sort of alternate versions of our reality, or these alternate places, and so we follow Vic. She meets Charlie Manx very early, and we follow her throughout her life, and different things happen to her as she grows up and becomes an adult, and all of this is, her life is colored by her encounter that she originally had with Charlie Manx when she encountered him and escaped. And it follows the two of them and their stories sort of back and forth, and the interactions that they have and the interactions she has with other individuals. And it was a really, really engaging story. You find this book in the horror section, but I would probably classify it more as a thriller. There was definitely a lot of scary parts, and there was the parts relating to Christmas Land were, I guess, more on the horror side. And I don't want to say too much more about that because I don't want to spoil anything. But most of the scariness in the story was actually because of the thriller aspect of it. So it is a very adult novel. There are some, not that it's X-rated, but there are various references to, there's some unsavory characters in it, so there's various references to some explicit activities. So it's definitely not a book for kids. But it was, it had its limits, and it was really good, extremely well written. Really, really good story. I was, even as long as it was, I was addicted to it the whole way through. So 5 out of 5 stars for this. The last book we read is Dead of Winter by Kealan Patrick Burke. I picked this up because I had read another book by Kealan Patrick Burke recently called Blanky. I just discovered this author, and I love Blanky. I thought it was tremendous on multiple levels. So I figured I would try a few more things of his. This I picked up as part of my anticipated Christmas reads because these stories, there's 7 short stories in here, and they're all somehow related to Christmas or Christmas time. They're all set in the winter, and some are specifically related to Christmas. Look, it's It's a full-length book. I mean, it's a short book, sure, but it's a collection of stories. You put all the stories together. It's an actual book. We can review it on the channel. It counts, okay? It counts as a book. It doesn't matter that it's a collection of short stories. This was great. They're all horror stories set around Christmas time. Some of them real horror and some horror light. So these were really good. Again, I'm going to give Kealan Patrick Burke 5 out of 5 stars. There was one story in here called Visitation Rites that just give you absolute chills, which was my favorite in this volume. I'm definitely going to keep reading more by this author. This was, it was just another really great showing. Okay, so that's it. As I said, it was not a great reading month for us for a couple of reasons. So we're back on the wagon here. January is going to be much better. So if you read any of these or are planning to read any of these and you have any thoughts or questions about it, please drop us a line in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please remember to subscribe if you want to see more. You can hit that notification bell so you're notified each time the tyrant here says it's okay for us to release a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.